Well, look at chapter 6. Now I saw, verse 1. Revelation portrays one long, unbroken event. If you want to see something interesting about Revelation, look at all the times it says, and John looked, and John saw. And the angel said, look, and John looked, and he saw, and then he saw, and then he saw. It's just an amazing. Revelation portrays one long, unbroken event. The next part of the verse, when the Lamb opened. Jesus is a central character. The whole tribulation starts in chapter 6, verse 1, with the Lamb taking that scroll from the arm of the throne of God and breaking the seals. Jesus is the central character. He's the star of the book of Revelation. Yet it's the most neglected book in the Bible in our modern time. Martin Luther wouldn't teach from Revelation. It was too confusing. John Calvin, the patron saint of all the Reformed churches, he avoided. They just said it was controversial. The one book in the whole Bible, Jesus sent to every believer, sent to every church, and said, I want you to see me as I really am. And Christendom, primarily St. Augustine. You ever heard of Augustine? St. Augustine, the bishop of the African town of Hippo, northern Africa, the town where hippos, that's a horse, hippo is the word for horse. St. Augustine did not like Revelation. You know why? It made everybody think about heaven being in the future. He wrote a book called Civitae Dei, the city of God, and he was at the kind of the crescendo of the Byzantine Empire in the 4th century, where Constantine and his mother were building basilicas everywhere. And the Roman Empire was Christian, and the Roman Empire was supporting Christianity, and they weren't killing us anymore. And he said, this is heaven on earth. We don't want people waiting for heaven. It's here. Now Augustine was a great theologian, but Augustine's the father of Reformation theology. Don't blame, if you don't like Reformation theology, on Calvin. Augustine thought of it all. Calvin just wrote it in his books that he wrote, the Institutes. Calvin popularized Augustinianism. And Augustine said, get the people away from saying, I'm an alien, a pilgrim, a stranger, and I'm headed to heaven, and get them engaged on Christianizing the world. And that's kind of the basic of American politics right now, isn't it? It's the same thing. Save this world, not leading them to Christ, Christianizing culture, right? What's going on right now? We're fighting over abortion pills. We're fighting over what books are in the library. We're fighting over, whether or not people can commit this sin or that sin. We already know that Satan, who is stronger than us, is going to completely bring this world into absolute bondage. So either we can try and bring in the kingdom by ourselves, Christianize the world, or we can let God do it, because he's the only one that can, and do what we were left here to do. We were left to infiltrate the world as little copies of Jesus Christ. And the way we talk and the way we live and who we talk to and how we explain to them, we are supposed to be leading people one at a time to Christ, not Christianizing the world. It's okay in your spare time if you want to be a great vote and go and proclaim that you stand for righteousness, but don't ever think you're going to Christianize the world. Satan won't let you, and God is not going to bring that about until his time. And so we're not going to ever have Christian laws and Christian leaders and Christian everything until the millennium. Okay, it's one long, Jesus, the central character, one long unbroken event. The seals, if you look at verse 1, tribulation judgments are based on the reality of this title deed that Jesus is the creator and owner of the universe. John says, if you look, and it says, and I heard one of the four living creatures. John personally witnessed all the events. That's what's so amazing. That's why in physics, the laws of physics say that time is just another dimension. John was transported to see everything like God does, and John saw the events of the tribulation that haven't happened yet. he isn't telling us what's going to happen. Revelation tells us what was happening. That's why we have all these theological different views on this, because it's portrayed in such a way. You'll see when, is it Mark Strout? Whoever's going to teach you the theological systems or eschatology or whatever's coming, I saw it on your list. You're going to see there are 4 views, and the prime views, the idea, the idealistic view, the futurist view, the preterist, a lot of you have heard that, the historist. There are all these views. Why there's confusion is because John was seeing it like it had already happened. Well, that's how God sees it. God sees everything at once. And so John saw the actual events happening because he was with God. They haven't happened yet, but he saw them happening. So we don't know how it might turn out. This is how the early church got so excited about Revelation. They weren't seeing how it might turn out. They were seeing how it does turn out, how it will turn out. By the way, look at the end of verse 1. Come and see, Revelation 6:1. God wants us to know his plans.